Okay, so this was going to be about a little gym that I've built for learning to hover. So you come inside the cube and you start to hover inside the cube, and this is exactly what was happening to me when I first started, is that I ended up with some forward or reverse momentum, and I just basically end up not hovering at all, but just flying in very tight circles just to stay inside the box, which is not really the aim of the exercise. So I started to think and imagine why that was. And I know there's a relationship between which the speed at which you travel and the camera angle. I was not entirely sure as to how that actually worked. So if I go onto here and just drop my camera angle down to 0, there's an interesting thing that happens. The center of my screen appears more or less on the horizon. Now, this is going to depend on obviously how your drone is configured, but if your camera angle is 0 and aligned with the aircraft, and the aircraft is aligned with horizon, then it should be pointing at the horizon. So if I take off, and if I go below the horizon, I'm going to go forwards. If I go above the horizon, I'll end up going backwards. It will go through 0 and then start speeding up, going backwards. I'm just controlling the altitude with the throttle here at the moment, so I'm going backwards. And if I just counteract the speed and go on to 0 again, I should find more or less that my speed is going to come down to a nice small number. So let's see where we are. So if I'm hovering now, okay, so if I get on the horizon, I should be able to hover quite well, and my speed goes down quite nicely. And if I keep it on the horizon, then I'm hovering quite nicely. So I can go back inside my box now and have a little practice at that. But this video is about something slightly different. This is about the relationship between camera angle and speed. And you'd imagine it would be a bit linear. Turns out that it's not. What I basically did was I went through some exercises to figure out what the curve of camera angle to speed actually looks like. And the output is quite interesting and quite usable for many different things. So just let me come off this and I'll just walk you through my process. So what did I do? Right now my camera angle is set to 0, right? So if I set my camera angle to 10 degrees and I take off, I'm interested to know if I mark the horizon with my center spot. Try and get it right on there. Okay, what speed am I traveling at? Now obviously I'm starting to sink a little bit, so I'll add a little bit more throttle, but that shouldn't affect my speed. It's just the throttle is just changing my altitude. So I'm doing what, 39, 38, 39, 40 kilometers per hour there on my speed. If I pull back a little bit, it's just speeding up because it's falling below the horizon. You'll see that the speed comes down. So 38, there we go. That's for 10. That's for 10. If I now just leave it sitting there, it's quite stable, my fingers aren't really doing anything on the controls, I'll put it up to 20, and now I'll put it on the horizon. Let's see what speed we end up at for that. So we let it settle. I'm there at about 54, yeah, so just having to make slight adjustments, but 54, 55. So if I'm traveling at 54, 55 kilometers and that's my camera angle, then for a given camera angle on the horizon, you will have a certain speed. Now, obviously, in this environment, there's no wind. And when you fly in the real world, then you're going to have to contend with the wind. But this is just really to get a rule of thumb and some level of understanding, right? So again, let's just bring it down a bit. What you'll notice is, by the way, as I go down and up, the horizon is always in the same place. It's one of those wonderful things. When I used to fly aeroplanes, it always used to amaze me that the horizon always appears in the same place. Even if I punch up a bit, I'm on the horizon there. If you look, it's still pointing at the same place on the horizon. It's almost as if you're in a bowl and the circle of the bowl is the horizon. And as you go up and down, so obviously I'm off the edge of the map there, but the horizon is over here somewhere, right? It basically just remains in one place. So what I've basically done is I've gone through and I've gone in 5 km/h increments 5 degree increments, right, from 0 degrees all the way up to me running out of throttle authority, to see what the speed profile looks like. And this is what I've got. So let me just show you what I've got. Here we go. And what you can see on here is these are the camera angles from -15. Obviously I was traveling backwards there, right, at 50 kilometers per hour for 15 degrees, and -10, 34, -34, -5, -20 at 0. Well, that should really be 0, but that's just down to accuracy from me, and so that's roughly what I was measuring there. And so it goes on, right? So at 20 degrees, level to the horizon, I'm doing 56 kilometers per hour. Running it all the way up to me running out of motor authority, which actually happened about 45. I could just almost get to have 50 degrees, hold a constant altitude. Well, what you find is that once you get beyond this point, the camera angle is so steep that you don't have enough throttle authority to keep altitude, so your altitude just starts to descend. So this is the data, and I've also put in here miles per hour and meters per second for whichever version of speed it is that you use. And then also the change, right? So for 5 degree change, right, between 0 and 5, I got 22 kilometer per hour difference. Between 5 and 10, I got 12, and so it descends, right? So if you look at this curve, the highest change in speed for a given camera angle is towards the low end. Once you actually get beyond about 25 degrees, there's really not very much in it. You know, the difference between 61 and 79 is not that great. So what I've discovered from this is that you actually have the camera angle at the low end has a large impact on what effectively your cruising speed will be, right? Especially if you've got, as I have, a center point, and that center point always appears in your screen. You kind of fixate on it. So knowing what that is, right? So knowing what your camera angle is. So if I set my camera angle to 20 degrees and I go back to look at my lovely special little table here, I should find that my speed, if I'm on horizon, is about 56 kilometers per hour. Well, let's go check it out. Let's see what happens. So here I am on the ground. Let's go. Oh, I've set my angle right. Just double check. Yep. Okay, so now when I take off and I put that on the horizon and I adjust the throttle accordingly, I should end up about 56 kilometers per hour. Well, that's 54, 55. That's pretty good, right? So according to so this is repeatable. That's obviously, you know, I mean, I know there's no wind, but come on, let's do it in the other direction as well, right? Okay, so there I am on the horizon. Should be about 56, and sure enough, there it is, 56. So taking this a step further, if I try and put myself about 20 degrees above the horizon, I'm going to guess that's about 20 degrees above the horizon. Eventually, my speed should start to drop off. And maybe I'm just a little bit. Let's have a look here and see where I hover. If I'm hovering now, right? So maybe that's 20 degrees above the horizon. I don't know. But I would imagine if there was a degree scale up the side, when my camera angle, when I'm pointing above the horizon by my camera angle, I should be pretty much hovering, right? So here I am with a 20 degree camera angle, right? So let's go back into my little box and see how that actually impacts my hovering, right? So if I sit here and I set up to maybe just below the 20 degrees so I can get into the box. So I get into the box and I start to hover. Oh, going forward a bit. There I am, nicely hovering inside my box. Now this doesn't account for ground effect either, right? So, you know, you're still going to get that little bit of a bobble and bounce when you are close to the ground. If I go into the second one now with my 20 degrees, remember if I'm pointing above the the ground at 20 degrees, I should be pretty much stationary, and sure enough, here I am inside the second box. Okay, let's just punch out this one. Let's see if we can do the challenging one. Come back around. I put the crosses on the end because they give, they give you a little bit of a reference, right? So I remember 20 degrees above, that's why I'm losing speed. So I was forgetting my own advice there for a second. So here we go. Let's head into the box here. Whoops, I just came straight through it. But you get the picture, right? So if I'm 20 degrees above, I'm effectively going to stop, and whatever my speed is, whatever my camera angle is, that really determines how far above the horizon I should be. And it's, you know, it's a direct relationship between what that angle is and what your camera angle is that's going to get you to be able to hover. So yeah, if your intention is to go and fly around with a relatively aggressive 25-degree camera angle, then bear in mind, if you want to hover, you need to be pointing the center of the screen roughly 25 degrees above the horizon. Now, as I said, there's no wind in here, so, you know, it's all good. So let's go see if we can land next to Lidrium and start trying not to kill him. Nice chap that he is. Okay, so there we go. And it makes your landing so much better as well. So, you know, if you want to come into land and you're trying to hover, just bear in mind, if I'm pointing that center above the horizon about 20 degrees, then I'm probably going to be very close to hovering, right? So it's just another way to keep track of where you are and for hovering purposes. So again, this gym is downloadable. I'll put the link in the description. I didn't put it into the other gym because frankly there's a lot of stuff in there right now, so you can download this one just to practice the hovering and fine skills. Who knows, maybe I'll just add some things to this. The link is in the description to download it, so please go ahead and download it, and leave me some comments either here or in Steam. You'll just go to Uncrashed, you go to Workbench, and you'll find my stuff there. I'll put a link for the original gym in the description as well, so you can download both of those. The original gym really is for practicing gaps. There's all sorts of interesting challenges on there, going through reducing holes, going through tunnels, all good ways to get you to a position where you're not as afraid of gaps. This one's slightly different. I will put a link to the image. I'll make it available online. This is a spreadsheet. Obviously your drone will be different than my one in this, but it shouldn't be that different, you know. I think you'll find that most drones will kind of fly the same. The speeds will be different, but the relationship between speed, change in speed for camera angle, I would imagine will probably remain the same, or roughly the same. The ratios should remain the same. But anyway, if you do try it and you do the calculations, please let me know what it is that you find. Okay, that's it really. That's my video, and I hope you find this useful. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Take off.